Captain's log. Stardate 263.1.3.24.6.
69.
Dot 69.
Dot 69, the sex number.
Well, on an odd coincidence, we discussed the sex number today. We think it's gross and creepy. Bigger fans of the 99 or the 6 and the B together. The old 6 lowercase b is how we did it as a boy. Sometimes a PQ. Occasionally a K, then a hyphen. But only no, I'm not finishing this.
What is this character?
It's Sex Picard.
Sex Picard.
Wow.
I never asked, I didn't think I had to ask. Your mind is absent. You're never here, and when you're here, you're not here. You said things were getting better. I thought I could help. I knew you couldn't stand to see me like that. I knew you couldn't stomach the process. You said that you wanna leave. I guess you can't see that it's okay with me.
Is it Sex Picard? That's the intro?
Yeah, so we are running dry on intro bits. Just not feeling super inspired, but we did get some great suggestions in a previous post, and so this one was dictating a captain's log a la Star Trek.
Sorry, we couldn't do it better.
Yeah, that's as good as you're getting tonight. Let's get to the show.
Wow.
Wow.
Good work, guys.
We should just end it there with Sex Picard.
End the episode, and then you just get 30 seconds of that character.
See, the thing about the intro bits is that we're already recording, and so sometimes as we're workshopping them, we realize, well, it might not get any better than that. And this thing you were just trying out.
If it made me giggle, there's something there, I guess, right?
A K and a hyphen?
Sure.
How does that work?
Touch me on my K.
No, touch on the hyphen.
Oh, man.
Welcome to Crucible Radio, the show for all things Destiny 2 PvP, apparently.
I think.
Yeah. Oh, we're all a little bit loopy tonight.
We're so far from player versus player.
So far from okay.
Yeah, this is weak.
Yeah. I feel like it's okay to admit that on episode 124, and if you couldn't fucking tell already, sometimes we're a little off our game, but thank God there's been some news in the Bungie world and we can talk about this, and there have been changes to the Crucible, a few, small tweaks that could have a big effect, and we can at least talk about that this week. We've been playing PC. We've been trying to get mouse and keyboard to work. I've just really mostly been using my scuff, and just kind of getting there, right? Getting into the new groove.
I think we get a little bit of a pass because we are using our time to prep for a very important upcoming episode.
And I think we need a recurring bit each week at the start of each episode where we describe our mouse and keyboard progress. Swain,
Okay.
Not happening.
Zero.
Okay.
No, I accidentally had to use mouse and keyboard the other day because my scuff disconnected and I couldn't get it back in. I don't know.
How'd it go?
I gave up and turned it off.
Okay. Something else. Okay. Bonesy, what about you?
I've been doing okay. We talked about mapping and key mapping a lot last week. And then literally almost immediately after we recorded that, I had a bunch of conversations and then way more throughout the week about what I should be doing or things I could try. And there are so many good suggestions. And I find it so fascinating that there are just options where it's like, you don't have to play some sort of meta decision. It's just what's comfortable to you. So I have a lot more to try out, and that's kind of my goal moving forward. But I had to use my scuff a little bit. All right, it's safe.
Yeah. I along those lines, there was a comment in the episode thread last week. Somebody was using, and I want to make sure I give credit. Okay, Overwatch Windowmaker, way better. Says uses mouse wheel up as a secondary crouch key. So you use mouse wheel down to change weapons, mouse wheel up to crouch, so you slide. And it leaves your left hand free. And I thought, that's a really good idea. Because these thumb buttons, when I'm in movement critical situations, and maybe I'll figure them out, but they're just, I don't know. They're just, I'm not hitting them. They're not natural. I'm going to give that one a shot. I still need to do my weapon swap, only primary and secondary as described in that Reddit thread.
The CVARs.
Oh, the old CVARs. But to sum up my progress this week, not going well. Not going very well at all. I can do it. I feel like there's still all sorts of combinations of mouse DPI and sensitivity that I'm just not comfortable with. People say you want to move with your whole arm, which means your wrist can't be anchored, which just seems weird to me. Like I'd have to move my desk around for that to make sense. And what I really need to do is just swear off my controller and just force myself to do it. But it's just right there and it's so comfortable. I got the back buttons and it's just like, I find that like my aim is better, but my play style gets more boring because I just feel less confident in the air, less comfortable moving and sliding around. Not going well, but we'll keep checking in.
Yeah. The movement thing, I'm getting there. I can tell it's much better than it first was, especially when I was playing on the beta. The thing for me, weapon switching is a little weird because I realize I'll just decide like, hey, for the next 20 seconds, I'm using my kinetic and there's nothing I'm going to do about it. And that's just there. And that's something I really wish I could work on. And we're going to talk a little bit about tracking with your aim on a mouse and how that's a little different now and how that is impacting the meta a little bit. But yeah, I think it's going to be nice to sort of just have something to weigh in on just for a little bit each episode and say, I figured this out, or I did a blink. That's going to be good.
I did a blink.
I did one blink.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, on another note, how's that PC get your gear and get your shaders on game going?
Oh, man. I just unlocked the ability to use shaders, and I have one legendary.
Yeah. But that goes fast. You get that first set of legendaries pretty quickly.
No, I had a very long week, and I just got a chance to play a decent amount last night. So finished the story, got everything through that, and ready to keep going through it. It's tough when it's your fourth time through it.
Yeah. Does lose something.
I did really, really like a few parts of the campaign, though, where I just had to watch the cutscene, and I was like, "Damn, that was good." The big fight scene, which is so great, where the Vanguard kind of attacks the city and sneaks in after disabling a few barriers and that sort of thing. There's a part where they all have their jobs, and one of Zavala's job at this moment is to go fight these Cabal and punch them in the face. And you've got these Guardians next to him in their gear and their guns, and that's great. And they follow him when he starts to pick up the pace. And then I realized, like, he full on arrives at that fight for the day without a weapon. And Zavala is just like, no, I'll figure it out. And he literally just starts sprinting at the Cabal with just his fists and immediately like takes a gun, shoots one in the head and stuff. And I just thought that was so awesome. And I didn't catch it the first time, that the reason he's stealing a weapon is because he literally showed up that day and didn't bring one. And I thought that's the most badass thing ever.
It's a very Titan thing for sure.
Yeah, very.
Yes. I had the opposite realization, which is it's amazing how fast you can grind out those first 20 levels, or the story, when you just run past everyone, don't watch any cutscenes, and just get through it as fast as possible. Very effective.
It's much easier when you have a Sparrow, though.
Oh, yeah. It's actually not okay to just get to, or it is okay to get to level 20, get a Sparrow, and then go back and play the rest of the missions with the Sparrow. It's like,
well, I I realized that by like Nessus, I could do that. I was just like, I'm not doing any more of these adventures.
Yep.
Well, Swain, didn't you do every Nessus adventure on the planet before getting a sparrow?
Something like that. Yep.
Stole a lot of picks.
There's a few of those where you're like walking for a real long time.
Yeah, there's even a part where like the ghost mentions how far you're walking. He's like, Falsafe, this is a really long walk. And I'm like, yes, it is.
We know.
I got a new policy on PC. I just put shaders on everything. I burn them literally as fast as I get them. Every gun I get, every interesting legendary, or even interesting blue I get, even if I'm never going to use it and live in the vault, just slap a shader on it. Just slap a blue shader on it. I got my Titan all kitted out, and I'm using Nessus Mirage, which is just some common shader, but it looks good. And I don't know, it helps me remember off-meta guns that I think like, that's kind of cool. Like I'm not going to use like minimum distance. I put watermelon on because it's just like, I'll use it a little bit. It's fine. And now I got a reason to use watermelon.
And like, what else are you going to do with them?
Right. What else are you going to do with them? Just burn them when you get them. They're fun.
I'll have to post a screenshot, but my Warlock is looking real good in Suros Modular. I'm very, very stoked.
Can I just say, the best part of Destiny 2 on PC, without a doubt, is you have snipping tool now. Like
it's so good.
I take, no joke, a minimum of 15 snips a day, just in the course of working or like sending things to people, taking pictures of funny headlines or ads that I see. And now just having it always open and just like snip, snip, snip every, like Mrs. Birds likes to play with shaders as nearly as much as I do. And so she'll be in the other room and I'm just like texting her pictures of the same gun with 5 different shaders. Like, let me get an opinion on this. And it's so easy. And I can't imagine that part of PS4 again where it's like, all right, I just took a screenshot. Now time to find a USB thumb drive or upload it to Twitter and then save it to my computer. Nope.
Or just like, this is the only crop I can ever get because it's just the screen.
Yep. Snip, snip, snip.
It drives me insane when people tweet text like from their notepad thing on their phone and they want to send it, like they want to do a longer tweet. So they take a screenshot and then they don't crop it. So then Twitter collapses it and shows you the middle of it. So you see a blank page and I have to click on your stupid image that you uploaded to see how charged your battery is.
Dignity of it.
All right, guys.
Crop your shit.
We should probably get to the meat of this episode.
All right. Do you want to do more sexy Picard? We can do more sexy Picard.
No. We got news this week, guys. News pertaining Curse of Osiris.
Oh yeah.
Wow. How about that? How about that little reveal? That kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It was it's everything I wanted from the PvE side for sure. But no, we got a date for the next expansion. It is December 5th. Curse of Osiris will drop. And it also means that it will hail Season 2 of Destiny 2.
Well, we gotta talk about that, but we're gonna find out more details. I'm really enjoying the armor set of this Osiris armor. And I like how you can see his face through his helmet. I don't think that'll ever be a thing, but that would be so cool. Yeah. It's got a lot of different inspirations on it, but it just comes together to look like, I'm from the future, and I'm just going to pick over all these different things from a long-lost human culture. And then get some cool feathers in there or something.
There's some big feathers. Is there a bird that big on Mercury?
I know who might know the answer to that question. Delivers us bird facts in the visitor center of Bird Monarchy every day. Today, we learned about the oil bird. They eat oil palm fruits, which makes the birds quite oily. People near the caves where the oil birds lived used to trap the oil birds and boil them down for the oil.
You guys are weird.
Yeah. We're discussing bird facts over at Bird's Monarchy along with a lot of other stuff. We're having fun. A weird looking bird, very greasy.
All right, well, we'll learn more about Osiris and his dudes in some upcoming streams, and there's no reason to talk too much about that now. More recent or more soon, really on our game this week. Faction Rallies is coming back.
It's coming back. I can't wait to be around to do a faction rally properly. Like I was around for like 2 days of the last faction rally with all this travel. I'm really going to put my tokens in for the good side this time. I gotta say, these three pictures. Yeah, I it's gonna be future war cult. Come on. Look at that phosphorus. Look at that. Look at that little sidearm rifle. Everyone wants the fusion rifle. Just these pictures they put in. Although I got to admit, Dead Orbit does call to me. That little SMG, like, and if you're curious about this, you can see the stats and the builds for all of these weapons in Destiny Tracker's item database. So I find out exactly what's on them. As far as SMGs go, you want the Future War Cult one. But man, that Dead Orbit one, that's one of a kind. Nothing else looks like that. They got a Viced Black Scorpion type. Looks pretty cool. And it's got the perk that reloads the magazine when you holster it, which is the ideal use of like a fast shooting, fairly low magazine capacity scout rifle. You just unload it, switch to your other, and when you pull it back out, it's ready. And they just look pretty cool. But yeah, New Monarchy got the hand cannon. That's not nothing.
Yeah, the I'm not even gonna try to say this first word. I do want to talk this Future War Cult SMG though. There's something variable.
Stochastic variable.
Oh, I got it right. All right. So this thing is the Omelon SMG in the energy slot, and you may have used something very much like it if you're a fan of phosphorus, which slows down the rate of fire, and that's really comfortable on console. And this has that perk if you're going to be playing on console. It also has high caliber rounds if you want the faster rate of fire on a PC, and you're a little more able to control that. But I think what's great and what's better about this gun than Phosphorus is the Tap the Trigger perk, which is on Prosecutor from Trials, the auto rifle. It's that initial burst of really strong stability. And if you treat it in bursts and you can stop firing and relocate your target and burst again, like it is very, very smooth. And I think that's awesome on an SMG, sorry. So I'm really, really excited for that. And I think it's going to be really strong in its archetype. And especially as I kind of get over Antiope, even though it's very good, use other things, I'm eager to try it out.
Yeah, with the last faction rally, I pledged New Monarchy and checked it off the list. But I think the other thing for Future War Cult is that they've got a couple really great armor pieces I'm looking to pick up. On my Titan build, I've been using Insurmountable Skull Fort, which I'm kind of just using because it looks cool. And yeah, those Titan arms for that, they got the same little lots of dots vibe going on.
Lots of dots.
Lots of dots. That's my new look. Lots of them.
It's so interesting that you're a Titan now on PC. Like that's your only character.
Yeah, the Titan start has been interesting, but the more I think about it, I guess I look at Warlock as sort of sitting in the middle. Warlock is for sure its own thing, but the movement ability is somewhere in between. It's got blink on tap. It's unique. It's got, great grenades. But the difference in movement between a hunter and a Titan is just so dramatic. Like, and to play a Titan where your main mode of travel is skating or D2 skating, and especially the instantaneous momentum redirect with shoulder charge or whatever the equivalent for your subclass is, I gotta say it's really nice. and Striker is quite good. I will get to building out the other characters at some point, but yeah, Titan's scratching the itch right now.
Well, all right.
I'm a little afraid of committing to shoulder charges because they don't finish it. With the Skull Fort, if I can really commit and get a kill with it, I get my energy and my health right back. But it's like when the double Dutch ropes are going, you just like bobbing back and forth off to the side. You got to commit to going in there and I guess doing the opposite of what happens during double Dutch and you want to run into somebody. Bad metaphor. Woo.
Almost.
Yep.
I actually have, on the topic of what classes we're playing, I actually have changed my thinking on my Warlock a little bit. And I thought about going with a different class on PC. Like, let's prioritize something else or something like that. I went ahead and made a Warlock. But I've been drawn to the other classes because I'm like, where am I playing my best? It's what I have done for 3 years. But I realized like a change I need to make is to my loadout. And I think I'm going to have to add a little bit of mobility into my build. And I just have realized that when I'm on my Warlock and kind of on my Titan, but not as much, if I have that 1 or 2 mobility, because I'm trying to spec for really high recovery and pretty high armor, I die so many times just trying to like walk back into cover. Because my reaction time's a little slow, or I'm just like, oh no, I didn't even think of that. Or like, I should be fine if I just reload and walk back. And I just die. Like I don't get back into cover in time. And that's not sprint speed. That's not jump height. That's just literally strafe speed. And so I think I'm going to try to do like a 3 or 4 mobility on my Warlock and just see how it plays and see if that helps me actually just get out of bad spots when I need to, because I'm not fully aware of my surroundings. And I think it's going to make me a little better, and hopefully I can just make smarter engagements and not rely on heavy amounts of armor to survive a single bullet or something.
Makes sense.
When I picked out this Titan armor, I got a 0.67 build, so 0 mobility. And, you know, it was interesting. As soon as I started playing with mouse and keyboard, the very first thing I wanted to do was the sort of keyboard strafe. And here, I'll turn the mic around, but just this. Just the back and forth. And with extremely high mobility, that's effective because you're actually covering some ground. What I wasn't ready for was having to adjust your aim in sync with that and do it smoothly, because you're moving quite quickly. And that when you take 0 mobility down to nothing, that stops being an option, and you don't have to adjust your aim because you're barely moving at all when you strafe. But I do like that recovery and resilience. All right, so Faction Rally is coming up. We've got Season 2 looming in the distance and some changes. But even just this week, we had a patch come out. We had some changes in preparation for that, and in particular, some changes to the scoring. I've gotten a little bit of time to play with these. I did notice the Supremacy one. Getting a point for a kill in Supremacy is nice. I found it changed the math a little bit of having to go run out after a crest to make it worth it that you are not that confident in, but you know you're trying to do your part for the score, and let you just give you a little bit more options with your positioning, even if that means playing a little slower, falling back a little bit, you know, being a boring firing line.
I mean, it also gives you like varied weapon choices, because before you wouldn't want to use a scout or something long range. Sure. Because you'd be stuck without even access to the crest, or at least quick access to the crest. So there's always a lot of like really, you know, fast paced moves and quick gameplay in that game mode, because you just always want to get it. Everybody's looking for that crest. And then you'd have teammates that just like keep using this long range and, you know, put you at a disadvantage because the other team's just picking up the crests that they're getting killed. So it's nice. It's not like crazy, but it's nice.
I guess, you know, now that I think about it, I kind of was not crazy about the clash scoring change. I did have a match that was like 49-50 with 2 minutes left in it. And I remember thinking like, that seems a little bit early. Like we were just starting to mount our comeback. You know, the solo queue was just starting to gel and come together. And the enemy team just held on to their lead from a little bit longer. I guess it's nice not having every match go to the clock. It means your matches are going to be ending a little bit earlier, and that does change the loot equation a bit, just in terms of number of drops you're getting an hour, if that's what you're after.
It also helps with like it's in the quick play like playlist, so like it'd be nice to have something that's just like, yeah, let's get as many games in this 20-minute, you know, period as possible. Instead of like, oh, yeah, this comp game went, you know, 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It happens. Bonesy, have you gotten a chance to feel any of these out at all?
I have not. I've just been looking at the update and trying to figure out how this works on paper. I mean, it all does sound really good. I've seen responses that say survival is pretty good. We had, you know, some concerns in chat about how that works because there's not a fresh life for every player on the team. So that's the one I'm curious about experiencing for myself. But if it can make a trials ticket go a little shorter, that I think it's really necessary. So I'm okay with that. I had a fun play the other night in Supremacy where I actually like blinked to an enemy crest to pick it up as the time expired, and we won by a point. And I was like, that was cool. That was like the first time a supremacy specific thing has happened where it felt awesome. So like, as long as that can still happen, which I assume it shall, but so the change seems good. You know, more points, the better. I think people want to just see points on the board. They want to feel like, wow, I've done all this work to do so much shooting, but we haven't capitalized on it. Now that all of that work can go into it and be rewarded is really good. So I think all of these changes sound really nice.
Well, you know, I don't know what it is. I mean, I think we're maybe a little bit weird, a little loopy, a little low energy this week. But if anything, I mean, I think we're actually starting to hit sort of our first lull of D2. Like we've got the faction rally coming up. We can see the next milestone coming in a month, which is crazy. I love the cadence.
It'll come quick, obviously.
Yeah, and we're gonna start hearing news about that and get hyped about that. But where we're at right now, I mean, a lot of the game's been figured out. Most of us, you know, especially people who are moving over to PC, are on their fourth, third more character at this point, and you can certainly feel a little bit of a lull, and by all means use this time to play other games. I know Bonesy, you've been playing some Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, what little chance I get, I squeeze some time in there.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for sure. I'm like just past the opening credits, but I've been just wandering around fighting alligators. It's awesome.
There you go. New game come out. Thumbs up, fighting alligators. So certainly do that. But it's important to forget that there's, just because new stuff isn't happening in the game, that there's not anything to do in the game. In fact, the opposite.
It's actually one of the best times to make improvements. And like we say all the time, we're trying to, you know, help everyone a little bit every week to get better at Destiny. And there was a point at the beginning where everybody's still figuring things out, trying to, you know, get what's the best, you know, plan for each game mode, what's the best gun, all that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people seem to just like, oh yeah, I played a lot, so I must have improved, or I've played a lot over the beginning of this game and oh, I must be doing great. Like it's time to just chill. But this is actually one of the best times to make some of those small but unnoticeable improvements. I like to take this from another place that another podcast I listen to, but embrace and love this plateau that you're at, because if you don't, you won't be willing to put in the time, and you won't love the time you put in, which is very important once you reach the plateau. You're like, oh yeah, like I know, Bones, you struggle with this hard in D1. We're reaching the plateau. It's just like, oh man, I feel like I'm not getting better. I might be regressing a little bit, or I might be.
I was there for a while, like months. Yeah. It was a month-long thing. But
there's it's one of those things where it becomes so small, the improvements you make, that you can't see them every day. Like when you first start, you're like, oh yeah, I'm like seeing huge improvements. You could see it in your KDA, or you could see it in the kills you get per match. You could see it in like the really cool, like, or even just like the clips you save after a match. You're like, oh, I've got so many clips now because I've gotten so much better at this game. But the improvements that you make once you hit the plateau are small, and some of them are the most important. So sticking with it and still working on those, fundamentals is very important at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bonesy, even last week you were just talking about how you're switching guns almost every round, just because there's still a learning curve. We're still finding new guns. We're getting new drops, and okay, a lot of guns play similarly within an archetype, but as you're learning to ramp up with a gun, take advantage of its perks, figuring out the position of it, a lot of what you're doing is just getting acclimated to the situation that you're in. And it's not really until you get past all of that, you've got your comfortable loadout, you know how to you have a sense of what, the right thing to be doing for your loadout is in a given match. And you're not necessarily learning any new techniques. That's, I think, really when it starts to get interesting from an improvement point of view. And we saw this in D1, like, people would get locked into their AS Luna and Matador loadout. And when I say people, I mean me, and that's totally fine. And I had cycled through a lot of guns before that, but I really didn't start focusing on my own playing, regardless of what gun I was using, until I had sort of locked into that, until I'd taken the new guns out of the question, until I'd taken learning the map layouts and the right angles on each map, that I was able to focus on, all right, I'm going to start dying less, or I'm going to work on moving a little bit faster to take advantage of a position when it opens up, or I'm going to position myself to, try and force the spawn on the other side, or stick with my teammates more. And these are the kinds of things that are a little less interesting than playing with a new drop. But
yeah,
well, there's like techniques too that are small but kind of important. I think like prioritizing hip fire in up close fights was something that I learned later on, especially once I hit the plateau. It was just like, all right, well, I need to make some sort of small change here, like that'll help me get more kills. And I don't know how it ended up working into my gameplay, but at some points I was just like transitioning into trying to hip fire when I was close enough. And that's not something I just like decided naturally. It's just something that kind of happened. And I was like, oh yeah, this really works, and it's helping my gameplay.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the different types of improvement before. There is the just mechanical improvement that comes from getting more comfortable with your loadout and with your controller, and you've got your settings dialed in, and you just play hour after hour, and your aim is going to get more on point. Your in-air accuracy will get more on point, that sort of thing. But then there's the other things to work on, and make no mistake, these are just as real in D2 as anything else. These are the things that are not as glamorous, but that you decide to work on. Like you say, like focusing intentionally on working on hip fire, or thinking back to some of my favorite playbook posts, learning to keep track of enemy players, where, even in the course of one match, there's only 4 people to learn, where does this hunter like to go? Oh, this hunter is playing for sword ammo. He's playing for quick fang all game long. I'm going to keep track of it instead of just, noticing when he has a sword and hoping that I'm positioned right for it. It may be that you're specifically working on your aim. You want to take advantage of that tap the trigger perk and specifically focus on not taking a shot unless that first shot's going to be a headshot. And of course, the biggest component of all of this is reviewing your gameplay, so you can get a sense of, out of all the things you could work on, what are the things that are killing you? What are the things that are not getting you the kills that your team needs? And that you really can't drop into that until the other distractions are out of the way.
It's kind of funny. I was just saying how I never like stick to one thing and I switch guns and blah, blah, blah. Like all of that is good because it keeps the game new, interesting, and fresh. And when you get a new drop, by all means, like we have to use it, right? That's the whole fun in getting a new weapon. But I think just like, learning from playing this game for a very long time, or if you're a listener who has been playing since the game came out, and you didn't really take like 8 months off from the game, or came back to D2 since House of Wolves or something like that. Like you can kind of know what you're getting into. And now is that chance, which I'm trying to take now, of getting comfortable with one thing, like really, really deciding like, hey, I can be good at this one thing. And when there's not new stuff thrown at you, that's your period to do it. Just like get your fundamentals and your base so good that like I want my Warlock game to be so good that when new stuff shows up with Curse of Osiris, I'm not like totally trying to figure out really what I am as a player.
Or even
And
like
because I wanna-
subclasses too. Like you want to be able to have a feel for all the subclasses so that when your favorite goes out of style, you can hop right in.
I mean, I guarantee you that even with your favorite subclass, there is a perk on the path that you're using that you are not taking advantage of. You're not thinking about, you probably couldn't list them all off. Go into a game and pick one out and realize like, oh, if I use my melee to get a kill instead of just using a melee, I get a chunk of my health back or my weapon reloads. Like, try and abuse that. It may not be the most effective play style if you devote an entire match to only working for that perk, but it'll be that much closer to having it in your vocab when you're playing, you know, without restrictions on, without a specific goal in mind.
Gist of it is keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Like we said sort of at the top, and Birds, you covered this, is like, there's that time where you learn stuff, you get the stuff, you memorize the stuff. I know what to do on Midtown. I know this gun is good. I know I like this. I have all the drops or whatever. That all has to happen, but that's really just everyone reaching the same playing field. Like all of that time is just everyone getting the same stuff and being the same exact amount of knowledgeable. And when that is done, you can start getting better. You can start doing things better when it's even for everyone. So take advantage of that time. Don't think that because there's nothing new dropping that you don't have any reason to get better. Right now is when it happens, and that's exciting, and it makes it worth to play.
Well, everyone, keep it up. Keep getting there, Crucible. God damn, I'm tired.
Keep getting in there, Crucible.
Keep getting in
baby.
them crucibles. No, make sure you are continuing the play, continuing to get in your game time. Even if you are feeling like it is, you've reached a point that you can't get better. As long as you're having fun, those improvements will come. But we want to take a moment here, middle of the podcast, to thank our sponsor of this week. Our sponsor is
Who?
Redbox.
Thank you, Redbox.
Everyone knows Redbox is all about renting movies and video games for cheap. But did you know Redbox also sells used games starting as low as $4.99?
I actually did know that already. We've been talking about Redbox for a couple weeks now.
You're right. I know that.
So for the price of one of those extra large caramel frap double espresso, no foam, 2 pump,
Yeah.
do it. Drinkity drinks.
Drinkity drinks. You love.
You could start the most legendary game night tradition ever, playing your hearts out all the way up to bedtime. So for way less than you'd pay in store, you can keep your kids quietly entertained all month long. So you can practice that extremely complex and extremely painful yoga pose and get it down to perfection so you can impress your entire class with your superhuman flexibility. Gamers known for flexibility.
Yep. Or you could practice taking advantage of whatever that bonus you get on a melee kill that you've not been thinking of, but you're going to start using and you're going to start surviving a lot more. And you're going to impress the entire Crucible match with your superhuman not dying ability.
So that's right. Buying games from Redbox is a way cheaper option, and this time you keep them forever. Right now, Rocket League, Skyrim, Final Fantasy 15, and more are all for sale. So head over to the box and do game night on the cheap. Redbox, the smarter way to watch and play.
Remember when we almost did Rocket League Radio?
I do.
Well, why didn't that ever get off the ground?
I don't know. It's a great game and it's still very popular.
It probably didn't help that we stopped playing it.
Oh, I still play Rocket League every single night.
Oh.
No,
In secret?
not true. That might be one that could work better on mouse and keyboard. I would have to think about that. Well, there's in addition to busting through your plateau of taking proactive action to say, hey, look, I know how to do okay in the Crucible. I'm going to try something new and see if I can make that okay a little bit better. There is another thing that you can do in these lulls, and it is my particular favorite thing to do. This is actually something I got a lot of practice of when we did our sleeper gun episode, and that is investigating the wide world of all of these guns that we have to play with, and not just the legendary weapons, but the blue weapons as well, because I guess in D2, blues can be just as good, if not better, than your legendary weapons, and trying to figure out which one to use. I mean, if you've been playing for a while, you've probably got a ton of drops saved in your vault. And we've talked about the process of, pulling out every pulse rifle and shooting them against a wall. But sometimes you're bored at work and you're thinking, I'm going to get back into sidearms. What's the sidearm I want to use? There's a lot of great resources out there on the internet that you can take advantage of that make this process a little smoother, give you a little insight pretty quickly. First up, it's all about Destiny Tracker. A lot of these sites have got a database of weapons, but I gotta say, Destiny Tracker is killing it right now with their D2 database. And my favorite thing about it is that you don't have to use their site at all to get there. When Bones mentioned stochastic variable, I looked up the stats for that in about 10 seconds by typing into Google Destiny Tracker variable. And boom, there's the second item. It takes you right to the page. And not only do you have all the main stats, you've got all the hidden stats. This is the zoom, the inventory size, your aim assist, which if you're using a controller, or even if you're using mouse and keyboard and you want that little bit of hitbox help, you care about aim assist and the recoil direction to know how vertical it is. And then, of course, you've got all of your different perks as well. This is step one. Step two is comparing it to other guns. And I think this is an interesting topic because a lot of these guns are very similar. As soon as Bones mentioned the variable and that it's the same archetype as the Phosphorus, same kind of gun, I Googled that one too. I typed Destiny Tracker, all one word, and Phosphorus in, and now I've got these two tabs side by side. And I'm switching back and forth between them now. And oh man, the insights keep coming.
I'm doing the same thing. I mean, you can very quickly just start comparing numbers, and that's where it sort of gets into personal preference and game knowledge. And, you listen to Crucible Radio, you probably know stuff like range and stability are big ones. Whereas, 2 points of aim assist might be a negligible piece of detail. Recoil direction doesn't immediately stand out. So then it gets to prioritizing what you look for in a gun and what it means when the two are different.
What I find really interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to talking with our good buddy Noosk about this in an upcoming episode, is that there's always this balance. Like in D1, it was really just the seesaw between impact and rate of fire. And that's still the case here, right? The faster it shoots, the less damage each bullet does. But as I start to see, especially with these fixed rolls, we'll have multiple guns in the same archetype and sort of the same model, same build, all kind of look similar. And that I notice that they balance out. So just sticking with this example, looking at Phosphorus and stochastic variable, I can see that stochastic variable's got more range. Phosphorus has got more stability. Stochastic variable has got slightly slower handling and reload speed. So that's a factor. But at the same time, it's got a larger inventory size. So making up for that reload speed by giving you some more rounds. And it's got a little bit more aim assist as well. And that these numbers were not chosen at random. There's definitely a balance here. And sometimes these differences are big. I mean, there's a full 10 points larger inventory size, which if you're playing an aggressive SMG playstyle is an interesting thing to know. What I in particular like doing when I'm really researching and when I was figuring out which of the Vice fast-firing auto rifles was going to be my true bay, and it is Sandwasp, and I love it. I did that by pulling up all of them side by side. That's Valacaden, that's Sandwasp, that's Perseverance, and flipping back and forth between all of them to really see how did they break these out? How did they do these differently? They may be similar, they may be a little bit different, but already you're starting to get sort of the story of the difference between them. And that takes us to the next section, which is comparing perks between guns. And This, I think, is the exciting thing we have in D2 because these perks are now locked in and we can see what the similarities are and see what the difference is. I do like the way they've set up perks a little bit. They seem to be overall a lot more useful than a lot of the D1 perks. There aren't as many. I struggle even to think of a truly bad perk that I'd never want on a gun that I take into PvP. No oiled frame in D2. And comparing these, we can see there's a couple differences and that some person on the Sandbox team put a lot of thought into trying to figure out the trade-offs for these. So, okay, both of these have got phase magazine, which changes the rate of fire, takes these down to 600 RPM. Phosphorus has got as its final perk dynamic sway reduction. So when holding down the trigger, this weapon sway reduction system boosts accuracy over time. So you get the benefit of this last perk as you hold down the triggers. You really spray and pray, and your prayers come true, and it gets a bit more accurate. Stochastic variable, on the other hand, has the exact opposite perk. It's got tap the trigger.
They are like inverse.
This is not an accident. This is what I love about it. Tap the trigger grants a short period of increased stability and accuracy on the initial trigger pull. So there's no right answer here. Which one of these fits your play style better? Phosphorus has got alloy magazine. All right, maybe that's more of a PvE thing. And it's got steady rounds on it, essentially reducing recoil, increasing stability at the expense of range. Stochastic variable, again, not surprising, has got the opposite perk. It's got accurized rounds on it, so it's increasing your range on top of the improved range that it already has. And then it's got high caliber as well. And what I start to find, I feel like there's like a story to these guns. There's an idea for each one of these, even the blue guns, about what the ideal play style for this is. And some gun designer at the Bungie Sandbox spent a lot of time looking at these and figuring out how can we take these guns that are similar and make them different? How can we make the right gun for each person? They capture whatever this decision is in the perks, and then we're sort of left to puzzle it out. We've got, and I know it may not feel like this if you've been just grinding on console since the very beginning, but we've got a lot of guns for a vanilla release. I feel like out of the archetypes we've seen, they've kind of covered almost every combination. I mean, you always have one that's got a bit more range. You always got one that has a bit more stability. There's always one that's a little more suited for PvE and one more that's more suited for PvP. It ultimately comes down to what is your play style. So think about how you use an SMG. Are you in there to be disruptive, to maybe play with some teammates in a trials team that's hyper aggressive? In that case, maybe high caliber rounds and tap the trigger where you're constantly moving, re-aiming, engaging from a lot of different angles or working on a lot of different enemies. Maybe that's the right one for you. Or maybe you're a solo. You're playing the flanker style. You're trying to get around and get up on top of people, find the one person out of position and really unload into them. And then for you, maybe that dynamic sway reduction on phosphorus is the way to go. Maybe add in steady rounds as well if you're not going with that phase magazine. We've just been talking about 2 SMGs the whole time, but you can play this game with every single archetype, and it's fascinating. And this is what I do before I really commit to any one gun. It's got to feel right, and you've got to like the way it works, and you know, a lot of like reload speed is ultimately going to come down to what's acceptable for you and what's acceptable for your playstyle, regardless of what the numbers say. But I feel like there's a lot more hidden gems, especially in the world of blues, and they're really going to pop out. We're really going to find them when we keep playing this game of going through the database and seeing what's the story behind them. What were they thinking when they built this one?
A big takeaway for me when I look at stats now and how I noticed I've approached it differently is how I don't just immediately prioritize the obvious ones from D1, because back then you had one primary. They were going to be involved in 80 to 90% of your engagements, especially towards the end of D1 and especially in sweats. And it was about, okay, if I'm going to face the same thing this often, I want range. I want my Ayasuna to have range. I want rangefinder because that's what's gonna, give me the advantage if possible, or at least keep me up to speed with everyone else. And that range and stability combo was so lethal. And it's just all that mattered, right? Braced frame was such a good perk. Because I'm like, screw mag size. I'll reload every second. I don't care about mag size. Give me that huge buff to stability. It was crucial for me even using some guns. And now I can look at guns and think like, oh, maybe this perk does make this sort of lack of stats fine. Maybe I do like tap the trigger that much. And I don't care about the 2 points of aim assist or something like that. Or even on a hand cannon. It's not even about range for me anymore because I'm not bound to the range of that hand cannon because I have an energy weapon that'll service me if I'm in a different kind of fight, right? I have a scout or a pulse and I can use that hand cannon however I want. And I think that's really cool. And it makes you have to like really go in and look more as opposed to just going like, excuse me, where's the range perk? Does this gun have a range perk? No, thank you.
On that note, like, you should be doing research. Like, go in and figure out after you got a couple guns you like, go and figure out what perks you prefer, because a lot of times the feel is much different than what the actual effect is. And a really good example of this is high caliber rounds, which our buddy and multiple time podcast guest host.
Yeah. He's checked them all.
He did a wonderful video that I love so much.
And his name is Fallout Plays, by the way.
Yes, Fallout Plays.
Sleepy Swain.
Did I say it?
I don't think
I'm tired. Fallout did an awesome video about high caliber rounds, and he shows the difference between high caliber rounds on a couple different guns and just regular, like not having it. And the difference is so minuscule across guns.
I was kind of shocked by this.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to Fallout for figuring out a way to matchmake into private matches in D2 after the luxury of private matches in D1. Figuring out a way to get in there so we could have a true testing session and really going rigorously looking not only at the big name, so not just Uriel's, not just Mida, and also focusing on the variables of what happens when you're getting shot from the side versus getting shot dead on or from behind. And it's just amazing what that sort of work and that kind of application of the scientific method can really do to dispel a lot of what we perceive in the game and what sort of the common wisdom is.
Yeah.
Not really about the HCR.
I love it. I'm gonna link anyone that screams Mida is OP for high caliber rounds. I'm gonna link them this video and be like, no. It's the flinch.
It's the flinch. That's the takeaway, is that flinch is real on all guns. And that high caliber rounds will kick you a little bit farther if you're getting shot repeatedly. But compared to what you're already experiencing as a result of getting shot in the first place,
very small. So, like I said, do some research, kind of figure out what exactly your perk does to the best of your ability. Follow Fallout, because that's not going to be the last thing that he does some science on.
Exposed.
High caliber rounds. Exposed.
Do all that learning and research now so that you just know everything that everyone else knows. And then when new stuff drops, you're not playing catch up and you're not going like, well, wait, what does this matter? What does this mean? And then we can dig into the new guns we get. I'm so excited.
Yeah. The meta is not solved yet. We don't have all the answers. We didn't figure everything out by the first couple guns that really took off. We've got 1 month left until a new expansion and new influx of things that are going to rebalance the equation. Use this time to figure out what other people haven't dawned on yet. And that might be digging into a subclass. It might be digging into your vault. Or maybe it's digging into an incredibly lengthy matchmaking process so you can do some Crucible science like our boy Fallout, or just let him do it for you. And enjoy this time. Enjoy this time to get an edge while everyone else is I guess also trying to do that because everyone listens to Crucible Radio and takes all of our advice.
Of course.
My first thought when I saw that video was like, what guns do I have that have high caliber rounds? What's the other perk on that gun? And what benefit do I get from that perk?
Yeah.
Yeah, what have I been ignoring in favor of the one brand name perk that I thought I needed?
It's scopes from Destiny 1 all over again.
Oh, remember when ambush was the only one we should use?
We're back.
Okay, folks, go do your research, man.
Go play some Destiny. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, that's all we want.
And enjoy it. Have fun while you're playing Destiny.
Have fun and get better. Well, I don't know if this is official yet. We're still locking down a date, but in all likelihood next week, you're going to be tuning in to hear us talk to CR legend John Wisniewski and Bungie and human legend Claude Jerome, subclass wizard. And we're going to get some real deep insight there, and we're going to be considerably higher energy than we've been this episode.
I would be way
I'm
more
excited,
awake.
man. I'm just excited talking about that. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, God, my list of notes already is
It's been
growing.
too long since they've been here, so this is good.
Lots to
Seems on
catch
the
up
other
on.
side.
Everyone, make sure you are in the Discord, discord.gg/Crucible Radio. Hang out there, talk shop with us. Tell me what your favorite gun right now is to get you through that, plateau. What are you using right now? Tell me there. Also, head on over to crucibleradio.com. Check out our merch. We got awesome t-shirts, hats, mugs, iPhone cases, all that. We got them all. So head on over,
Pick up your
crucibleradio.com.
Guardian Con ticket. Let's go, folks.
Yeah, get a Guardian Con ticket. Make sure you meet us next year. And, do the thing.
Do the damn thing.
I'm tired. I'm gonna go sleep.
Yeah, I'm going to go play Destiny.
Okay, hyphen. Lowercase b, lowercase b, comma.
Tim.
All right.
There's got to be something to do with that character, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to hit
Not
stop.
tonight. Bye.
There when they need me, and I'm tired of being a ghost inside of your hallway. Maybe it's better I'm alone, so no one can hear me complain. Well, dear, sounds lovely.
More music this week coming to you by the one, the only true friends of this show, Odd Folks. We love these guys so much. We love all of our musicians so much, but Odd Folks will always hold a special place in our hearts. So we hope you go listen to their new album. It's called Bruiser, and it's not spelled the way you think it would be spelled. But you can go to facebook.com/oddfolks and find out how to spell it. And listen to it and listen to all their old records too. And of course, if you're a musician, we want to play your music on the show. It's fun. It lightens everything. We love to show off what you guys do. So send us an email with a couple tracks. It's crucibleradio@gmail.com.
Hello everyone, Swain here. You know that Crucible Radio is your source for all things Destiny PvP, and I know you want more than just this video, so make sure to head on over to crucibleradio.com to find all of our past episodes, detailed Crucible maps, t-shirts, and much, much more.